right now. As you watch this video, there is something ancient inside you, not a memory, not a feeling, something biological, something that was never quite fully human. 40,000 years ago, our ancestors walked out of Africa into a world that was already occupied. Another species was there, one that had survived ice ages, predators, and 400,000 years of brutal earth. Long before we even existed, they were called Neanderthals. And when our people met their people, they didn't just coexist, they had children together. And some of those children's genes are sitting inside your body right now as you breathe. This is not mythology. This is not speculation. It's in your genome. And once you understand what those genes actually do, you will never think about yourself the same way again. For most of history, we got them wrong. Bent-backed, dull-eyed, club-dragging primitives. That image is fiction. Neanderthals lived across Europe and Western Asia for over 400,000 years. Let that number breathe for a moment. 400,000 years. Homo sapiens, us, has existed for roughly 300,000. They were here longer than we have been. They buried their dead with flowers in some sites. They made pigment jewelry, shell beads painted red and yellow. They used medicinal plants, yarrow, groundsel, traces of what appears to be mold from the genus Penicillium. Let that sink in. They may have been treating infections with something chemically related to penicillin 40,000 years before Alexander Fleming was born. These were not brutes. These were people, highly adapted, deeply experienced, extraordinarily resilient people. And then we showed up. And something happened that scientists are still trying to fully understand. In 2010, a geneticist named Svante Paabo did something that had never been done before. He sequenced the Neanderthal genome. From bones that had been buried for 40,000 years, he extracted enough genetic material to reconstruct their entire biological blueprint, and then he compared it to ours. The result changed everything. People whose ancestors came from outside sub-Saharan Africa carry between 1% and 4% Neanderthal DNA. That means if your ancestry is European, East Asian, South Asian, you are genetically, measurably, literally, part Neanderthal. In 2022, Svante Paabo received the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for this work. The Nobel Committee, one of the most conservative scientific bodies on Earth, said this discovery fundamentally changed our understanding of human evolution. But here's the part that haunts me. Those genes didn't just survive inside us. Some of them are still working. Neanderthal genes aren't passengers in your body. They're active. Researchers have now linked them to real, measurable traits in living humans. First, immunity. Neanderthals had lived in Eurasia for hundreds of thousands of years. They had evolved defenses against pathogens that African Homo sapiens had never seen. When we interbred, we didn't just exchange love. We exchanged immune intelligence. Inherited Neanderthal variants in our immune genes are believed to have helped early modern humans survive new environments, new viruses, new bacteria. In a very real sense, Neanderthal DNA made human expansion possible. Second, skin and hair. Certain Neanderthal variants affect keratin production, the protein that builds your hair and outer skin layer. For populations moving into the cold, dim, low UV environments of northern Eurasia, these ancient adaptations weren't just helpful, they may have been essential. Third, and this is where it gets complicated, COVID-19. In 2020, the same team that decoded the Neanderthal genome published a striking paper. They identified a cluster of gene variants on chromosome 3, variants inherited directly from Neanderthals. Carriers of this cluster face significantly higher risk of severe COVID-19, requiring hospitalization and breathing support. Ancient genes, built for a world that no longer exists, suddenly catastrophic in a modern pandemic. But the same research team also found the opposite. A different Neanderthal gene cluster on a different chromosome appears to have offered significant protection against severe disease. The same ancient inheritance. One version kills, one version shields. Trade-offs made 40,000 years ago. Still playing out in bodies in the 21st. Scientists classify Neanderthals as extinct, and technically, that's true. As a distinct population, they're gone. The last of them disappeared approximately 40,000 years ago. But extinction, in this case, wasn't purely erasure. It was absorption. They dissolved slowly, generation by generation, into us. Their immune systems patrol your bloodstream. Their skin adaptations walk through the modern world every single day. Their ancient biology is encoded in every non-African human population on Earth. We didn't replace them entirely. We carried them forward. So when scientists say Neanderthals are extinct, maybe the more honest answer is we don't fully know where they end and we begin. If you've ever felt drawn to cold weather for reasons you couldn't explain, if you've shaken off an illness that floored everyone around you, some part of that might be older than you think. The past isn't behind us. In some ways, it never left. If this changed the way you think about who you are, leave one word in the comments. Just one word that captures what you're feeling right now. And if you want to go deeper, the next episode is about the other ghost in your DNA, a species we only discovered in 2008, from a single finger bone found in a cave in Siberia. Subscribe. You don't want to miss that one.